Hi everybody. So this video is gonna be called Death to My Ego, because I'm gonna go on here and kind of be unapologetically authentic, and gonna kind of just be vulnerable, which is not a strong suit of mine. But I'm gonna go ahead and go from this to curly. I'm gonna curl my hair today, and I'm gonna show you the process, what it looks like. Got heat protectant, got L'Oreal Elvive or whatever, Elvive, which I think smells really good. I've got a ton of hair. Okay, that's one side down. That in my eye. And so I'm making this video because I have a fear of being seen. And I'm trying to just kind of face my fears head on. So for me, that just means I'm just going to do it. Oh, this is phase 2 of Death to My Ego, because first phase was just literally making videos with me, period. I already did that. But I want to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more candid, a little bit more intentional. Alright. This is very uncomfortable for me. Like, I've always hated my hair so much. But I never really did anything about it. I mean, minimal effort, I would say. I didn't lose that much hair today either, actually. Very little, actually. Not much. Alright. Alright. So I'm going to use the beach waver. I also have this thing. I don't know what it's called. Hair iron. I got it off of Walmart.com. I like this one, but I just can't quite get to my roots, and they're very frizzy. So I got to start with the beach waver, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen one, but it actually curls itself. You just put the hair in there, and then you push the button, and it curls up for you. Something like that. Another reason I'm making this video is because I want to normalize women being allowed to be seen, allowed to be themselves without being perfect. Because none of us are actually perfect. And so many of us get caught in this trap to where we can't really make any moves because we think we need to be perfect first. And that's what's kept me stagnant for so long. And I'm tired of it. I'm finally single, like the most single I've ever been, but not chasing somebody else, not looking for somebody else. Like I'm actually single and I want to stay that way because I'm not trying to go and pick up any more drama. I've got enough of that already to handle and deal with. And I've come to realize that like I really, really, really need to figure out who the heck I am. Like all I've ever been is other. I've been a daughter. I've been a girlfriend. And I've been a mom. I never have just been me. Ever. Like truly. When you're in relationships, like you have certain roles that you have to play, certain expectations, obligations, and it's really hard to take the time to find yourself, especially as you get more and more responsibilities, which I have 4 kids. I had 2, and then I was actually trying to be single from the same man, and I got a job. I was doing pretty good, making changes in my life. This was in 2019. Uh, but I had so many limiting beliefs that I am incapable. Even though technically I've always known, like, I have so much ambition, so much drive, so much passion, so much inspiration. The problem is, I never actually did it for myself. I never did the things for myself, so I didn't know what I was capable of. All I knew I was capable of was staying alive through miserable relationships. And so I was in survival mode, of course, which means I was hindered. I had way less capacity to do anything for myself. Basically, get to doing the bare minimum because you're so depleted and you're so drained. And I always took that to be like, that's who I am. I'm this like melancholy, grouchy, miserable, uninteresting, just average kind of person, but I'm not average. It's taken me a long time to realize that I'm unique, and everyone is. Just whether or not you're taking the time to express that, to show it, not only to the rest of the world, but to yourself. So, I recently, well, I never really could, I never had the patience to put into doing my hair, anything like this. And when I did try it a few times, I never could get it to stay. So it would just fall out. And so I basically just gave up. Pretty sure I bought a curling iron. I just took it back. I was like, this is pointless. I can't do it. I need somebody else to do it. I'm not good at it. But after my ex and I split up this time, I went for it again. I gave it another try, and it actually stayed and looked really nice. And I actually find it soothing. I find it cathartic, especially now that I'm not doing it because I'm trying to get approval from somebody else. I'm doing it because I like the way it looks. I'm doing it because it makes me feel more confident. I've actually found that when my hair is done and I feel more confident, I have more motivation to like go out in public and do things and conquer things rather than like having a low level like feeling of defeat. So this has actually been very healing for me you start tackling, again, like I said, especially because this time it's actually for myself. And I've thought that I was doing things for myself before, but I've had time to like look back on my actions and my behavior. And, I would start out with good intentions, of course, but I would end up getting lonely and in my fear that I can't achieve things, that I can't accomplish anything, that I'll never be successful, that it's just not meant for me, you know? This time, this time I know better. I've always known better. But it's been a slow process, of course. I've got a huge fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being perfect, not doing things perfectly, fear of making mistakes. Overall, I just have a very large fear of being perceived by other people. I haven't had the most um, nurturing life. I haven't had people really support me and encourage me. Most of my interactions have been actually pretty defeating, but I've had a lot of time to reflect on that. I watch a lot of like psychology videos and stuff to learn about how and why people do things, why they act a certain way, why I act a certain way. And it's been a very, very gradual process because, I mean, I used to be so self-deprecating. I've always liked who I was on the inside, like my values and my morals, but I hated how I was showing up. And I always, again, took that to just be a complete reflection of who I am. And I still take that into account. But I've also learned how to give myself grace and to see the full picture. Because yes, I did act certain ways that I did not like. I do not approve of, and I am going to change them. However, a lot of the reasons I was acting a certain way or showing up a certain way was because I was in unhealthy environments. I wasn't filling my own cup up. I was trying to fill other people's cups and ignoring and neglecting my own self. Which, again, if you're trying to do things for validation from other people, that's that relies on other people validating you. And fortunately, I didn't have that. And I say fortunately because if I did, I would have never stopped and validated myself. Because people can validate you all day, and sometimes it's literally, oh, it's for nefarious reasons. They're trying to get something out of you. They're trying to manipulate you. And when you have a good heart, you'll just stay in those situations forever, not even realizing what's happening. You just internalize everything that's happening to be your own fault. And so then you just stay in these unfulfilling, soul sucking situations. So I'm not used to doing this in here in front of this mirror like this. I feel like I can't see as well. Plus, I'm looking in the camera a lot too. Okay, that's only small section left back here. Go ahead and do this top one first. I really like that this thing rolls itself up like that. Especially when you're like looking in a mirror because it's backwards, you know. So it kind of helps me. Keeps my arm from getting as tired too, I've noticed. I'm gonna move out of the way so you can see my pretty tapestry real quick. Sister got that for me, I think. It was a birthday gift. She spoiled me for my birthday this year. I've been going through it for a long time. So it was actually it was really nice. Where's that other piece? I'm not caring for this, so I'm not sure if this is the right piece or not, but we're gonna go for it anyway. Nope, wrong way. So I mentioned that, you know, I'm doing this because I want to help other women to get over their fears of maybe being seen, fear that they're not good enough, fear that they have to be perfect. And the reason is because my whole life, I've grown up looking at these women and not understanding why they stay with such terrible people in such terrible situations. And it wasn't until I had my own similar situation that I could understand. There's a lot of pressure on being a woman to look and act a certain way. And many times we're very self-aware. So when we get criticized, like, we know that there's truth in that. And that can be some of the hardest things to overcome because you feel so guilty already. Guilt is such a powerful emotion. But we need to stop and give ourselves more grace. It's not to say that we condone certain actions or behaviors that we've done. That's not what that means at all. Like, be accountable, recognize your shortcomings and your flaws, things that you need to work on. But you also have to change. You have to change the people, the places, the things, the activities that may be the root cause. It's not just that you're a shitty person. In fact, I don't think it's usually that at all. Oops. Maybe I should be working from the front. You have to be fully accountable and not just self-accountable, but accountable of the whole entire situation. And I'm not saying that we go and blame others and become victims. Not at all. But there's two sides to every story. There's two sides of the street. Two players in the game of love. And yes, if you do not like your behavior in a relationship and who you are showing up as, it's a reflection of the relationship. The relationship may be bringing out the worst in you. And if that's the case, then the relationship needs to change. You either can work on things with your partner so that way you can live a harmonious life, and if that's not a possibility, then the relationship more than likely is not worth your time. If you can't work through your issues and your problems and get your needs met, the relationship is not healthy. We need to take that so much more seriously. It's literally life and death. And it's not to say that, the person's going to do anything, but stress is the top contributor to some of the leading causes of death. Stress wreaks havoc on your body. It really does. It sends so many chemicals through your body. It shuts down parts of your brain. It even can damage your heart. Oops. And our health is the most precious thing that we have. Life itself, right? We need to take it seriously. The people that we entertain and have around us impact us. It's so critical that we pay attention to how we feel when we're around others. If a person's not bringing out the best in you, they're not encouraging you, you walk away feeling like you're drained and that the person insults you or puts you down or doesn't support you, that you have to take a cold hard look at whether or not that's even the right place for you to be. Too often we are just in relationships with people for the sake of not being alone. But it needs to be so much more than that. We really need to prioritize taking care of ourselves, especially as women, because we are mothers and mothers are leaders. If the mother's not well, the whole family unit is going to suffer. And society is a family. So when mothers are dying inside, society is going to be infected as well. Well, affected. It's Mothers are the foundation of everything. Mothers are like the glue that holds everything together. I mean, everyone plays an important part, but all too often, mothers do thankless labor. People take advantage of, they take for granted. It's just, it's time that this changes. Mothers need to be a top priority, and that starts with prioritizing yourself. There's an epidemic of mothers being burnt out. Women have put up with too much for too long. And when I say too much, I mean too little in the form of effort, and too much disrespect and undervaluing, being undervalued. Because so much of what we do is unseen, unpaid, expected of you. But you can't expect anything to change in the world if you don't change things for yourself first. And it takes enough of us to stand together and say, enough is enough. We need to be treated fairly and to be treated with a level of respect that comes out of the things that come from a woman. It's not to say that women are more important than anybody else. It's not true. We all need one another. But women are incredibly important. Without women, this society would not exist. Human life would not exist. Which I know we're getting close to having like artificial wombs and all of that, or we already probably have them. I don't know for sure. But can you imagine a world where there were no mothers to raise the children, to nurture the children, to comfort them when they're sick? Can you imagine? I think it would end the same way. There'd be no people left because everyone would hate everyone. Everyone would feel so hopeless and empty inside. I just think it's time that enough is enough. It's time to put our feet down. And we need to change things. We need to support mothers. Mothers are suffering. And it only compounds as time goes on. Because if, as a mother's suffering, her children are going to feel some of that. And then that mother's going to go on. Like, say, the mother has a child, she has a daughter, and then that child goes on to have their own child. She's going to be impacted by the mother, her mother's trauma and her suffering. And then she'll accumulate her own. And then that will affect her own child. So, say grandma, we got 3 generations here. Say grandma had a certain level of suffering and trauma that she passed on to mom. Mom carries some of that from her childhood. And then she also picks up her own. So now we're at like a ×2 level. So she has her own child and passes that on. Now that child is going to carry burden from grandma and from her mother. And I think it's even more than like a ×3. I don't think it works exactly like that. It's not exactly incremental. I think it compounds even higher than that. It's probably more exponentially. Like, grandma has level 1 trauma. I'm not to say that's an accurate, quantity, of course. But just to simplify things and explain it mathematically, by the time you get to the mother, it's 1 time. It wouldn't be times. We're doubling is what we're doing. So it'd be 1 plus 1. Now, mom's at a level 2. Now, when she passes it on to her child, it's 2 plus 2. So that child's at 4. When that child has a kid, it's 4 plus 4. We're at 8. And I don't know if you've ever watched any videos about, saving money and how powerful it is to double how much you save each week. Like, you can get to $1 million super duper fast. Okay. Which is how I believe I think that it compounds that way. And, I mean, that's a simplified way to explain it. And that's just my understanding. How do I do this one? But that's what I've noticed. Oh yeah, this is supposed to be my bangs. I forgot. So I haven't done my whole head in curls yet, so I have no idea how this is gonna look. I normally do like a half up, half down. Well, because I was like, well, that'll be easy. Way less hair to have to curl. Oh, that's a really tight one. Didn't get down to my roots very well either. But I think society is really in trouble. I see more and more single fathers, which is not a thing that's a usual thing. I see more and more mothers getting addicted to drugs and losing their children. And I believe that's because there's really no options when a mother gets burnt out. You have very few options. And when you're burnt out, you need more than just one weekend of recovery time, especially depending on the level of trauma that you've been going through, the level of emotional distress that you've been enduring. Not everybody even has a weekend babysitter. So sometimes you've been suffering in silence for years before even having a break. There's only a few options that you can have to take a moment to yourself. There's the option, obviously, put your kids up for adoption. But most mothers don't want to do that. They want to be mothers. They just need to take care of themselves. They just have to take care of themselves. Not that they even want to, it's that they have no choice. Their body is screaming at them that they have to have some time to get back to healthy again. You can only be under a constant state of stress for so long. It's like, before I get into some of the other options on how limited it is when you need to take care of yourself. It's like how they tell you when you're on an airplane. If there's something happening and the air masks come down and you have children, you should always put yours on first and then proceed to help your children afterwards. Because if you pass out from a lack of oxygen, you can't do anything. You cannot put any oxygen mask on anyone. It's just like that in real life as well, and just in normal everyday life. You're taking care of other people day in, day out. Especially because so many of these men are a child, like a child, your first child. And they're take advantage of you and use you and emotionally just deplete and drain you. They play mind games and they weaponize incompetence. They manipulate you. They break your heart. They lie to you. They refuse to do any kind of housework. I'm not saying that's everyone, but that's a general rule of thumb. You can pretty much count on expecting that if you get into a relationship with a man. It's actually rare to find a man who who takes care of himself and his family without expectations, especially without at least expecting sex. Not to say that that's not a good, healthy part of a relationship. I'm not saying that. But so many men put this like entitlement. They're entitled to your body. That in itself is incredibly fucking draining. Especially when you have children clawing at you, screaming at you, needing something all hours of the day. They've been sick. You've been doing homework that they hate, so you're having to fight with them the whole entire time. And then you finally get some peace of mind and some quiet just to be you for a little while. And then now you're expected to go and take your pants off and take care of the man. And again, that's a healthy part of a relationship for sure. But you can't have a healthy relationship. That's not the first place to start. You want a healthy sex life, then you should probably have a healthy life other than that. Making sure your woman's taken care of. Emotionally, physically, psychologically. Before you're expecting to take from her. But all too often, women's needs are completely ignored. While everyone else's get met to the best of her abilities. But there's an epidemic happening. Women are getting too tired. I think it's time that that changes. This cannot keep happening. Society will implode. Yeah, you can try to go and replace us with robots if you want. Just keep going the way that you're going. Just get your robo lady. But a robot's never going to be everything a woman is. Maybe to a man, sexually and submitting to every need without any needs other than an electrical outlet. But there's no substitution for human connection. You can never replicate that. Not all the way. Especially for the children. I guess this video is sort of all over the place. Like, I was coming on here more to talk about, my fears, my limiting beliefs, and whatnot. But my actual call to action is, oh, I don't even know what to call it. It's not women's rights necessarily. I don't even know. It's not women's rights. It's women just standing up for what they deserve. We're important, and we need to start seeing it for ourselves. Because if we don't see it, nobody else is going to see it. And it's not that they don't see it. It's that it takes work. And why would anybody, especially men who benefit from us being not in our power, and they're so used to getting everything for almost nothing. Like, they've got a good thing going for them. Why in the heck would they want to change and do more work and not just be lazy? I mean, If we don't start standing up for ourselves, we can't, the men aren't going to do it. Hell, even the children aren't going to do it. Many times they're a reflection of how the man is treating the woman in the household. If the man's disrespectful, ungrateful, entitled, there's a really, really good chance your children will be too. You also, you know, I mean, this goes without saying, but it's something I think many of us overlook because we want to be mothers so bad, mothers and wives so bad, but we don't realize how much weight needs to be put into the decision of who is the father of your children. And that even goes to include if, you're just having a sperm donor and he's not even going to be there physically. Like, there's a lot of genetic components that go into how your child will act. No matter how you raise them, they will have traits that are like that person. And if you don't take the time to thoroughly vet your partner, you can end up in a really terrible situation. And so many times, once you're in the terrible situation, it can be that much harder to make a change. It really, really is. Especially because the worse your situation is, the worse you're going to feel inside. The more depleted you will feel, the more that you're going to feel like you don't have the endurance to get through the hard times, because there is going to be hard times, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. You don't have financial security. And even if you do have financial security, maybe you're not doing what you love and you're just working a regular job. And yeah, that's fine and that's great. That's a good first step for sure. But in order to feel secure, especially if you're used to a man that maybe has a skill or a trade, or he's a business owner, or he just makes good money, you may become trapped by just the lifestyle that you're missing. Especially if that you need babysitters, which is so expensive. Especially because many of the time we're depleted already as it is, and then you have a babysitter that you're paying so much of your money out for just so you can go to work. Not to have me time, not to go and just cut loose, not to recharge. You work Monday through Friday and then you want to go do something on the weekend, and if you don't have a babysitter that can even come on the weekend, it's really, really hard to keep going. And it becomes this vicious cycle of being trapped. I don't know. This video is all over the place, but there's just so much that I want to talk about, and it comes out of my own personal experience. I understand it now in a way that I never did before. I came from a place of where I'm like, I came into oh, I'm going to have a partner. We do everything, fairly, equally. We split responsibilities, including, the children, the housework, the money. Just like true partnership is what I was planning. That was my intention. Problem is, all I've ever seen was honestly bare minimum relationships. Like they were just, you know, relationships of convenience. Both person benefited in some sort of way, usually some place where a person has insecurities or vulnerabilities, you know, like for women it could be financial because they don't think that they can go, and they have limiting beliefs that they wouldn't be a successful business owner, especially because like as children, I don't know if you were told this, but I was told, like when I wanted things, I was told, oh, you better marry a rich man. And like I always, you know, kind of resisted that idea, and like I didn't like the way that sounded and stuff, and like that's why as soon as I came out, well, not as soon as I came out of high school, but you know, within a reasonable amount of time, I went and tried to get a career because I was planning on being a team partner, carrying my share of the weight. But I didn't have the tools or the wisdom to know what I needed as a person to be in a healthy, committed relationship, to look for the healthy signs. I was actually incredibly, because I was so insecure about myself, especially because of my looks, I was so easy to manipulate. All you had to do was say that you thought I was pretty, because I was so starved and so afraid of, you know, how everybody else was perceiving me. Like, I've never cared really what I look like. That's why I haven't ever really taken the time to learn how to curl my own hair yet. I barely do makeup. Like, I don't have makeup on right now except for some eyeliner and little lip gloss. All right. Now I don't really know what to do because I don't normally do my hair like this. But I have to let it sit because otherwise it will just fall out. I gotta let it cool down. Okay, this one's gotta go. No, not this one. Okay, I gotta set this down. I might have to redo these front sections. I forgot I was supposed to do pull my bangs out. Alright, and I don't know what music is playing. I just put on some like copyright free music is what I searched up. So don't hold the music against me. Actually, I want to play one of my own AI videos, or not videos, songs. Which one? Okay, well, for some reason it's not going down any farther, so I guess we're getting this. This ain't a good one to start with. This one's a little like hardcore. Hopefully that's not too loud. Hopefully you can even hear it. I don't know. Kind of just winging it here. Don't even know if anyone will ever watch this, and I don't really care because I'm not doing it for the outside validation. I'm literally making this video just to challenge myself, to step out of my comfort zone. Okay, so I don't normally do two bangs, so I'm not really sure how to do that either. I might need to get out my hair straightener. I want to show you how this one works too. I don't expect you to watch this whole video or anyone to expect this whole or watch this whole video because I have a fear of public speaking like none other. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, it's so bad that like I literally have fear of like public speaking even with just one person. Oh, it's mine again. Let's see if it'll go down now. It's still not going down for some reason. I'll try this one. I pulled out too much hair here. I think I'm gonna put that over there like I normally do. Anyway, I'm just trying to be vulnerable here. I'm just trying to step out of my comfort zone, be my authentic self. And I want to encourage women. It's important. Love our children more than anything, and we have to do better. If not for ourselves, for them. If we're staying in some sort of toxic relationship that's draining the life out of us, you are not up to your potential. And that might be a little harsh, but somebody has to say it. We need to demand better for ourselves, starting with ourselves. How we treat ourselves, what we allow to happen to ourselves, who we allow to be in our company, the company we keep. Because if we don't do it, no one else is going to. Well, I say there's an epidemic of mothers being burnt out and women being mistreated, and there is. There's also a lot of women speaking out. And I've known for a long time that I wanted to help in this. I actually got really big aspirations one day. Once I get the funds, I'm going to start creating new programs for women. Because it's time. It's time that women are prioritized. I'm not sure how to do this front section. I don't know why I can't go down any further. Okay, got it. Here's this one. Put back on the camera. I'm about done here. Well, I guess I should have left a piece not curled for this demo. It's not warmed up all the way yet. So there's like a little groove inside of here. You go up here, stick this in here, and then you bring it down here. Anyway. And then you start spinning. And it really doesn't do bad with tangling or anything. And that's even with like my style hair that's like very, uh, I don't know if it's even coarse, but it's rough. Yeah, it's not soft hair. And sometimes it'll grab other pieces of the hair and pull it into, but it usually just goes right through. Might take a little bit longer, but it's usually fine. The curls on this are really pretty. I like this a lot. And it is easy to use, especially if your roots were straight. This thing, this thing's pretty cool. Takes a little bit of time to like get used to the way you got to get your hair in there. Overall, I think probably the beach waver's maybe a little easier to use, but I don't know. That's just for my own personal hair. And I need to, I need to redo this one. You just stick it through the little slot. It's kind of hard when you're looking at in the mirror backwards. Hold it downwards, that way it grabs through the little fingers there. I've got it on the highest temperature, which is 210, which seems to be just fine. This beach waver's set on 350. That seems to be about the same, honestly. I think it's just heating up still. Yeah, like, look at that. That's a pretty curl. I mean, honestly, it's a really pretty curl. All right, well, if you hung out this whole entire time, like, kudos to you, because I know this video had to been somewhat unbearable because I'm all over the place. My fear of speaking makes me trip on my words a lot. Plus, I'm not that good at multitasking, especially with stuff that I'm not good at, or not necessarily that I'm not good at, but things that I'm not used to doing, like curling my hair. Like, it still takes kind of a decent amount of thought because I've only been doing it for maybe a week. And I haven't done full head yet. So, I mean, this is a. So, that was a whole new thing. Just really, I just wanted to do it just because. Like, I don't care if no one watches this or if people don't like it. I don't care. I'm trying to face my fears head on, and the fear of rejection, that's a big one, buddy. That's a really, really big one. That'll stop you and hold you back from so many things in life you think if you have a fear of rejection. And I do. I have my whole life. I haven't had a good experience in life. I've mostly just experienced rejection. And as painful as it's been, like, it's actually a blessing at the same time because having being rejected all the time like that, I realized I started wearing a mask over time. And no matter what mask I wore, I still got rejected. Like, not only was other people rejecting me, but I started rejecting me too. And so then I eventually was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is not who I am. This is not my true character. And if I'm going to be rejected by everyone else, I might as well just be who the fuck I want to be. Do things that makes me happy. Be who makes me happy. And that's really one of the biggest things that helped me to get there. Now now that I've been doing work on myself, and it's been a long time, my God, like I like myself again. And it's not like I'm not all the way there, of course. Like there's so many things that I'm like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. But overall, I like who I who I am inside of my heart. And that's something else I've learned is that's the most important part. I don't really give a fuck what I look like. I don't care what other people look like. I care how they treat other people, how they show up, what they bring to the table that's unique. It's not about looks for me. And for far too long, I've put in so much importance on being accepted for my looks, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. Especially because I never cared about what I looked like. So I never even tried to fit in there. Like, I never went and got my hair done, like, went and had it collared until last year. For the first time ever, I went and had a few highlights put in. And that was another part of, like, seeing my worth. And it wasn't that I was doing it to, like, because I cared about the looks. It was because I had never done something like that because I didn't think I was even worthy of spending money on myself anyway. So it was like, it was more of a thing to go and do it in order to show myself that I care about myself. And I liked it. It was fun. I liked the way it looked afterwards. I was happy that I had my blonde hair back, which I used to have, but I mean, I've always had dark hair underneath and like dark roots and stuff, but like over the years, my hair's gotten darker and darker. And so I felt like myself again because she did a really good job just making it look natural. Like it looked exactly like what it used to before my hair darkened up like that. I went to Ulta too, and the reason I went is because they have like the little menu, and the prices are all laid out right there. And like I'm a very analytical person, and well, I told you I was going to show that I could spend money on myself, but I needed to know how much it was going to be. I had to prepare myself for the amount of money without having any surprises like you might have at a regular salon, especially when you have this much hair. It's a lot of hair, and it doesn't look as long right now, but I mean it's down almost. If you straighten it, it's almost to my butt. So not only is it thick, but it's getting pretty long, and I mean, that could have cost me like $500 somewhere else. I think I paid maybe 200 there. So if you're like me and you need to know how much something is, check out maybe Ulta. It's all laid out. You can take it home. You can look at it. But what I've realized is I used to actually not care what I look like because I didn't feel worthy of, even putting any money into myself. I was keeping myself small. That way, because I felt so unworthy that I tried to not be an inconvenience or a burden at all, which meant that I never put myself first. And life was really fucking empty because of it. And I stayed in some terrible relationships. I got treated terribly. My kids have been through the ringer through it all too. Then it all stemmed back from my worthiness issues, which stemmed from insecurity. Most of those insecurities came from outside voices and what society had programmed me to believe was beautiful and what was important. I mean, as a teenager, I ended up having this belief that I wasn't shit unless a man wanted me. So I became desperate. But I wasn't desperate enough to go and like fix my hair up and do my makeup all good and like go and have the fancy clothes and the fancy shoes. But like I took it on as a belief that was really mine. But if it was truly a belief that was mine, I would have put so much more effort into looking how everybody thought that I should look. So I was like holding these two different beliefs that actually didn't go together at all. And the belief that wasn't mine held more weight than mine because I had been invalidated so much throughout my life that I eventually learned how to not listen to myself. And I didn't trust myself. And I didn't listen to myself. I did what everybody else thought I should do and acted how everybody else thought I should and went after the things that I thought were important and compromised on things that I originally said I never would. I'm getting back to my true self though. And I mean, I've never really been my true self before. As a teenager, I was close, but I was still a child. So I could only be myself as much as a child could be. Didn't know what I was good at, didn't know what I liked. And then I jumped into relationships with men, well, boys, you should say boys. And then that shaped who I thought I was. And then they were toxic relationships that I wanted out of, but I had such low self esteem that I never could break free, like the song said. I forgot this was replaying over and over. Sorry about that. But I could never break free. I would try. I tried and tried and tried so many times, over and over and over, and I could never